there's something about the lifestyle of all this too. I mean, when you go to the doctor, he prescribes you something, you come home and then you sort of just take it and then go about your life. But I remember when I first started listening to, awesome health experts like, Daniel Vitalis is one of my favorite guys, and David Wolf, like I started having this almost like unexplainable need to continue to listen to them, and also to now start talking to other people who were in this. There's like a wellness gravity. Like isn't there like a gravity to this? Like I don't watch television anymore. I mean, I haven't watched television. I haven't owned a television in 5 years because everything I really listen to is something having to do with something you're putting out. I mean, I'd rather just be listening to my friends who are really doing the work to find out, what's going on, what's going to happen next, and how we can go deeper and deeper and deeper.
You are what you eat, right? So if you're going to watch garbage, if you're watching the Kardashians, that's the universe that you're seeing and emanating in your life.
Yeah.
Because if you're learning and growing, then you're part of something greater. And that's just, academia has this, spiritual traditions have this, medicine has this. Is once you're in, it's just this rabbit hole of just greater growth and depth and mastery and inquiry.
And it just feels so right. It's, they say the truth has a ring to it, right? So
right.
When you start seeing these little, you're like, oh, what else is there? And usually there's like another rock that you can leap to. You're like, oh, whoa, this is cool. What's the next one? I don't know. It's fun. I mean, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
Super
There's something very fulfilling and fun about all this.
Yeah.
Well, it also changes your physiology. I mean, it's not just the trauma that you were working on with this woman. It's also the upstream and the downstream benefits of it. Yeah. So if we just talk on a physical level, there's the upstream control system. And can I get geeky here for a moment? Because I love to do that.
Please
so
do. Put on the glasses. She always puts on her smart glasses. Dr. Sarah's in the house.
Yes.
So the brain, right? We've learned more in the past 3 years in neuroscience than we have in the past 3,000. How cool is that?
That's awesome.
And this, just talking about the hypothalamic pituitary adrenals, these two parts of your brain that kind of surveys threat and then controls your hormones. The way that you secrete cortisol, the main stress hormone, that bad boyfriend hormone that I can't stop talking about. You changed your HPA. You changed your brain adrenal conversation in that session.
Yeah.
The neurologists can't touch that. Can't touch that.
Is that your song?
Definitely.
We're going to have a lip sync contest later.
Backstreet Boys, right?
Huh? Oh, 100%. I'm not going to tell you what my song is because I don't want to blow it.
So that's upstream. And then there's this downstream benefit too, where, okay, you don't have pain, you don't have inflammation, you don't have that bad neighborhood in your body that for some people takes you down that path to cancer, to depression, to, feeling when you wake up in the morning like the glass is half full.
Yeah.
It changes everything.
Yeah.
And so you want to learn because it's so yummy and it's feeding your physiology, your cells in your body in a powerful way. It's feeding your soul.
Yeah. The vulnerability too is addicting. When you start realizing that you can be gentle with yourself, and there's that much emotion built up around, like especially with men. I mean, I'm sorry, that's not fair, but I mean, like I do feel like men have this, especially in our society.
I don't think you need to apologize.
Well, we have this NFL kind of like tough and gruff.
Yeah.
Kind of like, and if you're not, then you're gay. If you're gay, that's bad. So you don't want to be that. You
Right.
don't want to be that. So
Yeah.
all this kind of weirdness that happens around
Yeah.
femininity and the way we relate to it. And I think that vulnerability and realizing and how good it feels to like sit there and sort of cry about something. I mean, that's amazing. Like it's an amazing gift. And then the feeling you have of wellness after that.
Yeah.
There's something that we don't treat ourselves to that. And our wives I guarantee wish we would. And my wife
Absolutely.
once I started doing that, our conversations all changed, and I was able to be there for her in ways that I couldn't be, and we were able to enjoy our relationship in ways that we couldn't before. So I mean, I don't know. There's something about the idea of men starting to come to terms with the fact that we're sort of a mixture of like masculine and feminine. We all are, you know, and somehow welcoming that in the vulnerability, as being a gateway to that.
Love it.
Really
I mean, this is another place where we've got Brene Brown on the sofa, and she's, she talks about how vulnerability is the way out of shame, and how shame is keeping us small and constricted.
Yeah.
And it's the way out. And I love how you just talked about, all of us, whether you're male or female, I feel like one of our jobs is to connect to the higher feminine, higher masculine, and like find the dance, the balance between the two. We're here in Berkeley. I'm getting a little woo-woo. I did my science moment. Now I'm doing my woo-woo moment. But
Glasses are off.
Glasses are off. Yeah, let's put these away. So, you walked in earlier today, and I asked if I could get you something, and you said, "How about some raw cacao?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "This guy's in touch with his divine feminine. I could feel it."
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Thanks.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All you guys are, actually.
It was not pretty getting there though. I'm sure it probably wasn't for anybody here. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't easy.
I think we need to talk about that. We need to open the kimono on how pretty it was.
There's got to be a movie made about it. In fact, something that we're thinking about making is a movie about
That's fantastic.
the sacred feminine. And I'm not sure how it would be.
Yeah.
But we've really been talking about it. I mean, all Amazonian healing really stems from Pachamama, which is Mother Earth, but really, really is about the divine feminine. And the maternal role is the dominant role in that society. And it's not that men are marginalized. They love that. They can exist within it and get everything they want out of life, and also just have this huge and deep respect for their own femininity and also the women that are in their immediate circles. So
Yeah.
I love the idea of welcoming in and heal. It's so healing. I mean, if we're talking about rebirthing ourselves and kind of the back door to our own healing process. Geez, man, just get out of this hyper masculine mindset. All this stuff. I mean, even when you're driving down the street, somebody cuts you off. I mean, I can't even help. I mean, it's just it's still hardwired in me. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna punch that dude.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
My husband
it's
says
I'm
that.
gonna get out and kind of you start getting
Right.
you were saying before.
Yeah.
You have this response, and it's kind of it's definitely valuable in some ways. I mean, it's great if you need to protect your family in some way, shape, or form, and you can't do it through some other means. Then maybe at some point you need to do. But honestly, violence in this day and age is so freaking barbaric. I mean,
It's
there's
true.
no reason anymore for
It's
it.
true.
Communication is at a point where we don't need it, and so that means I think it's time for us to kind of figure out what the next approach is going to be.
So
Right.
true. Thousands of years ago, it was very helpful to have that fight or flight response.
Yeah.
Not so helpful now. My husband had the same reaction when he got cut off about a week ago. He's like, I need missiles on the front of my car. Look at that guy. He looks like a nice guy, and he just cut me off. But it's also not just a guy thing.
Yeah.
I think
that's
there's
true.
such a powerful way that women are held back from their greatness because we've internalized being masculine in the world,
Yeah.
like an immature
Yeah.
version of masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go a little woo-woo again here, but I
Bring
think
it.
it's like women trying to survive in corporate America and how they have to play the game, and they lose that connection to the divine feminine. It's not valued.
No.
It's not
What are you, a stay-at-home mom?
Yeah.
Nice life.
work-life
Well
balance.
Well done.
Mhm.
Serious. Think
Yeah,
about it.
no,
Glass
it's-
ceilings, the whole menu.
That's a really big deal, and I think some women even end up getting addicted to cortisol. Like stress is what they're running on, is what they're used to, and
Yeah.
it's that immature masculine feeds cortisol, keeps
And
you in that
infertility.
stress state, and infertility, and miscarriage, and it blocks progesterone receptors.
Which is the
And your kids
closest
pay-
thing to
your kids pay the
Pachamama,
price.
right? Like
Yeah.
if you're
Yes,
supposed to be
fertility.
this vessel to bring life
Yeah.
through you, and
Yeah.
it's like the most earthy thing you could. I mean, it's the divine feminine itself, and this over masculinization of our consciousness and our culture
Yeah.
is driving our woman to not be able to do what they're. I mean, 50 years ago, you get sneezed on, you get pregnant, right? I mean, it was like everyone it was so worried about getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Now it's the opposite worry,
Yeah.
right? It's like how I can't get pregnant. I've been married 6 years. We've been trying. I'm doing all this stuff, and it's just the cortisol, the toxicity, all the things that have shifted that, and I think it's very profound. And we were talking about this, I think, last night or something. How men don't have the rituals to become men either, right? How we were hardwired to go on the hunt together and
Yeah.
no conflict and
Yeah.
no stuff. Some of the nicest people I know. I'm a martial artist.
Yeah.
I spent more time learning how to kill people with my bare hands than I have doing medicine or any of the other stuff that I do. I never use it, but I am not afraid of conflict. I've engaged in conflict. I understand conflict, right?
So you don't need it.
So I don't need it. And a lot of these men who are engaged in perpetual conflict haven't moved it through and embodied it in a
Yeah.
way where they understand who they are as men. So they're constantly trying to prove it to you, and it's so frustrating dealing with those guys because it's like, come on, man, you're 45 years old.
It's exhausting.
Figure it out.
rites of passage above that.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are our rites of passage in our society right now?
Getting
Think
a
about
car.
it. Yeah.
You're getting
I'm
an
25.
iPhone.
Totally.
I'm at 25.
Getting
I'm
laid for
seriously.
the first time.
iPad.
Right.
I turned 25. My insurance rates just went down. Like, that kind of stuff. There's all kinds of.
Yeah,
There aren't the real rites of passage that still exist in other parts of the world. I keep on saying it because it's true. That's why we spend a lot of our time in these other cultures, because they're still doing it, and it's interesting to watch what they actually do when they turn 13. When a woman has her first, menstrual cycle, how that's celebrated, and there's nothing immature about it. Like everybody's celebrating it. Even the boys and it's all known to be this big thing, as opposed to this kind of like, this kind of a weird kind of thing. Like,
Not just
You have
weird,
to
but
use
like
all these products
ghettoized,
now.
honestly. Ghettoized. Down there, something's happening down there.
Yeah.
Becomes the ghetto
yeah.
when you start getting your period. Although I tried to have a
I like
party.
that ghettoized.
You like that?
Yeah, that's because
Yeah, I mean, because you're not
thing.
Yeah,
I got
right?
it from Nicole Daydon.
So
I
it's
just
kind
want to
of
give her
just
credit.
tucking it away, having it be something that is it's there, it's ugly, we don't want to think about it. It's just kind of there.
Even
And you have
worse,
to deal with it.
dangerous.
Dangerous. Yeah.
And not to be discussed.
Yeah.
But
And
that's the polarization that
Ghettoized.
creates the shadows, where then you move away from your femininity, right, in that moment. Instead of embracing it and nurturing it and embodying what that is, as soon as you start ghettoizing, as I think you so eloquently said, that creates that shadow
Yeah.
where then you have polarized, you moved away from who you are as a woman.
Yeah.
And then that becomes an identity crisis that leads to probably all these things, right?
Think about it in terms of Chinese medicine, right? When you're doing like acupuncture, you're trying to restore life force energy to a place of your body that you've sort of stopped letting it flow.
yes.
So ghettoizing is, it's the exact same thing.
Yes.
You don't want to look at it. You're ashamed of it. You're not letting it breathe. You're not letting it have oxygen.
It's so
And-
inconvenient.
Yeah.
This is so good. So this is another takeaway right here.
Mm-hmm.
What are you ghettoizing?
Yeah.
Are you ghettoizing your muffin top? Are you ghettoizing your liver? Are you ghettoizing that part of your brain that is always looking for threat in the environment? Like, what are you ghettoizing? I think that's really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually, I just had a conversation about this with a very enlightened 23-year-old who was a listener to my show. And he was 90 pounds and undiagnosed with celiac disease, was a World of Warcraft player all alone and all that. And he applied that discipline to bodybuilding. And now he's 170, he's a fitness model, he's achieved so much. But he said something really interesting and really profound, I think, given his, kind of like short experience in that space. He said, the times that I'm trying to like lose weight or put on muscle or do something really, really difficult are the times that I make no progress. It's the times when I embrace the process and forget about trying that I just get there. And I thought that was so cool
That is
that
so
he
cool.
said that, because that's the truth.
Yeah.
That is the
And
truth.
it plugs into every single piece of your life, whether it's a muffin top or something painful that you've been dealing with for a really long time. It's letting it flow. It's getting rid of that resistance.
So
I
true.
love
It's like
that.
the pushing versus the allowing, the pushing versus the receiving, or the surrender that we were talking about in more of the Eastern sense. I really appreciate that. Can I rock a Yoda quote
Oh,
here?
yeah.
Oh my god, I was about to
Really?
bust one on you.
I'm
It's
trying
amazing.
to
You just
make
preempted
up
it.
my Star Wars shame here.
Yeah,
So
you have to like dig your way out of that, right?
no try do.
Do
Is that-
or do not, there is no try.
I thought you might be able to.
I was about to bust it on
I was
you. but
I was paraphrasing.
I give you a lot
I
of
was
props
para-
for,
I was
you're
paraphrasing.
channeling it.
I was digging deep to
Yeah.
try to get my Yoda
And you're
on.
actually like in green, you get your Yoda going on.
She needs the glasses back on now.
She needs
right?
glasses like. So you guys, stories.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're only halfway through.
Well, that was a yummy story. I love that story.
Yeah.
So I want to tell one for the ladies, because
Please.
I think we need to talk
Represent.
about the elephant in the room. So one of the things I see a lot in my practice, and I'm just thinking of a woman that I saw this week, who came to me because she's 45, 2 kids, and she's been trying to lose weight for 5 years. And she just feels like, since I turned 40, it's not happening. I try everything. I do the latest diet. I look on the bestseller list and I get, one of the top 5, and I try it for 3 weeks and I lose maybe a pound or 2 and then I gain weight again. And what I hear when someone tells me a story like that, I hear the suffering. I hear like this I've been trying so hard to do this and it's not working. And I also hear how she's blaming herself and that she feels like there's a moral failing. And that makes me feel so tender toward her because there's so many ways that people struggle with their weight. And it may seem like it's vain, but it's part of this much bigger story of what's going on in the body. And it's one of those messages that we have to decode.
Yeah.
And it turns out that it's actually not that hard to decode it if you open yourself to, kind of the control systems of the body and really looking at them. I mean, these are things that you and I have talked about quite a bit, just things like insulin. What's going on with insulin? Insulin could be your Jillian Michaels, just like running your body properly and not letting you deposit fat like crazy. Or it could be causing diabetes, which occurs in 1 in 2 Americans right now. And it's where your blood sugar is out of control and you have sugar cravings and you can't get off the sugar and inflammation's happening in your body. And no matter what you try to do, you can't lose weight. So with this woman, what we did was we figured out a couple of small tweaks, those small hinges that swing big doors. We corrected her insulin, we corrected her leptin. Leptin is that hormone that says, hey, darling, put down the fork. It's the hunger hormone.
Enough's enough.
Enough is enough. So we fixed those 2 hormones and it made all the difference for her. And she lost 15 pounds and she lost 2 dress sizes. She lost the muffin top, the visceral fat. That's not just a vanity issue. It's actually causing all of these problems in her body. And she was able to step into that agency, that grace that we've been talking about. And she was able to also see, this is biology. Like, it's not a moral failing. It's not something that you need to go to therapy for 10 years over.
Yeah.
Like, we can correct this. We can hit the reset button. In fact, you can reset insulin in 72 hours. So I wanted to share that hopefulness. I mean, she had such a transformation inside of 4 weeks. And you can do that too.
I love that.
Yeah.
You guys, if something is failing you, if you're having trouble doing the same thing and not getting the results that you want, instead of blaming yourself, look at other systems, right? It's a failed system that's not serving you, instead of you getting into like negative dialogue about your self-worth and you're not able to do, and all the scripts that we talk about that start booting up to say, I'm a loser and I can't succeed at this, right? The science has changed. The establishment of medicine is usually about 10 years behind, right? And so we know things now that can help you with that. And so this isn't rocket surgery.
I love that line.
It's not mine. I took it from Eric Goldman, who quoted some guy who said it, and I can't remember the guy's name. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's not rocket surgery, but you gotta get out of that spiral of circling the drain. And we see these all the time. We see these results all the time. I mean, this kid on your show, the patients in your clinic, the people in your movie, patients that come through my life and my clinics and my movies and all of it. It's, these are people just like us. It's not like I haven't had struggles with health. You know what I mean? I've had enough injuries to make me pay every time I want to hike up a hill. I have to accommodate because I love hiking, right? And so we all are on this journey together, and it's not like we're some sort of superstar sitting here kind of talking about what it's like, up here in Nirvana or anything. I mean, we have struggles every day, right?
I'm in Nirvana. You're not in Nirvana?
What tea did you drink? How about what she's having?
Well, one piece I really heard with all of our stories is the pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
Like, each of us had a pattern interrupt, right? Your guy needed to find his way to Yoda.
Yeah.
My woman needed to stop blaming herself, which was making the insulin, cortisol, leptin dance even more of a problem. You had this pattern interrupt with how you were holding trauma and the way that you were trying to deal with migraines. And then you had your pattern interrupt when you were getting all spiritual in India.
And God kicked my teeth in.
Yeah. I have a story that actually rides directly on this.
Good.
Which I think I already told you about chi running. So I've always been, I think all of us really have been type A maniacs, achievers. This is something that we've always just kind of had. I think
Guilty
you guys
as charged,
have
right.
really dealt with it in a really cool, enlightened way. And this is kind of about how I tried to do the same thing. And so I've always wanted to achieve a lot physically, mentally, in school. And so I was a promising runner growing up, and I always ran, but something that, as soon as I would get fast, I would get hurt. And I was just running as fast as I could, as long as I could. Whenever I did that, I got to the point where it was, all of a sudden I had, just crippling shin splints. And so I couldn't run anymore. I'd have to take time off. I'd get slower, and I'd, curse that shin splint or the IT band or whatever else was my problem, or what I thought was my problem. And so this went on for years, from, I remember being in elementary school running, all the way up to in my 20s. And I always get to this point where I could run, like 8 miles quickly, and then I'd just get hurt. It was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of weeks. It was overuse injuries. I went to, sports physicians. I talked to athletes. I talked to everyone I could to, like, how do I figure this out? What's wrong with me? What am I doing? I'm trying so hard. And then I read this book, and Danny was just on my show too, the author of Chi Running. I read this book a few years ago, and it basically explained how to run without your legs, how to engage your mind and use that to propel you forward instead of pushing constantly. You're basically letting yourself fall forward, and all you're doing is picking yourself up and letting the energy of your body, you're feeding off the energy of the ground in front of you instead of forcing yourself through the world, which is really, this is all an analogy for something a lot bigger than this, but I remember when I first tried to conceptualize that, I'm like, I don't know if I get that. That doesn't really...
Type A doesn't, this doesn't compute.
Yeah, that does not make any sense. So it took me a little while to figure that out, but I also at the same time, started to appreciate that, there is life in your food. Food should bring you life. It should be alive. That you should be in touch with your body, listening to your body, not cursing your injury, but saying, this is communication. What do I do about this? And I got rid of my big, floppy, squishy shoes that had been sold to me by the people who had said, this will make you faster, and by the way, it'll fix your knee too. So I started slowly running barefoot, and there was this moment. I live in Austin, Texas, which gets hot in the summer, but being type A maniac that I am, would go run even though it was 105, 110 degrees. So there was this one day that I did that in this new way. And what I tried to do for pretty much the first time in my life was meditate as I was doing it. And I imagined that I was in a bath or a sauna, and I remember leaving the house at the beginning of the run. I'm running barefoot and just in my little dinky, ridiculous running shorts because it's so hot. And I came to like 3 miles away from the house on a bridge. And it's not like I didn't have a recollection of what went on, but it was like this incredible moment when I realized that I hadn't been using my legs or my body. I had just been up here having a great time. I was so refreshed, even though it was 105, 110 degrees, and I'm just pouring with sweat. I felt amazing and liberated and free, really, for the first time. And it was after that I ran several marathons. I was running 50 miles a week, but I wasn't doing it by pushing myself through the world. I was just kind of going out and hanging out outside, taking time to meditate and churn through these problems that I had in my life, these ideas. I was coming back and I had a blog post when I came back. I had the answer to my problem, and that was something that I never got until I had that moment where I stopped trying. You can't force it to happen, you have to let it happen. So I think it circles back to what we've been talking about with all of our stories, right? You need to let that happen and value the innate intelligence of your body. We know how to run, right? Like as children, we know. We've just learned how to do it the wrong way. And so you need to value that innate intelligence and also value the innate intelligence of the world around us. That